This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. It is not a victory Monday for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We got to dive into a pretty ugly night at Princess Auto Stadium. The Bombers playing very hospitable hosts, and the Calgary Stampeders serving up a 50 burger to the home team, 52-30. Bombers fall to 4-3. Calgary gets to 3-4. They're just a game back of the Bombers. The season series will be determined by the winner of the rubber match later on this season. It was a real interesting weekend in the Canadian Football League. Jeff Hamilton's going to jump on with us today. We'll really dive into the Bomber game. And then tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., we will have another edition of CFL 110 where we'll take you all around the league and really dive into some of the other matchups from the past week and look ahead to another big week in the CFL, which starts right here in Winnipeg. Short week for the Blue and Gold against the British Columbia Lions, who don't seem to have a lot of answers without Nathan Rourke. They lost at home to Toronto on Saturday. Bombers BC on Thursday. So we'll really focus in on the Bombers and maybe a little bit of Jets off season with Hammer. And then later on the show, Moe Khan's going to jump on with us. Always love to have Moe on. He'll have some takes on the Canadian Football League, the hockey off season, LeBron James going to the 76ers, and more. But we're going to start it off with the three-way. Connor's in the house. Remo's here. They'll join me momentarily. And then we'll get to a little bit of audio from Brady Oliveira, Mike O'Shea, Drew Brown from Friday night. Just before we bring the fellas in, huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, Manitoba Battery and Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba. Thanks again for all the feedback on that reel that we posted with Travel Manitoba. Check that out on our Instagram if you haven't seen it already. The Winnipeg Gold Eyes, nice weekend for the Fish at home. Assiniboia Downs, who are back going tomorrow and Wednesday this week before the big Manitoba Derby this weekend. Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center. I've got a doozy of a why not question of the day for you for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGilvery, which we'll get to in a minute. But come on in, Connor Rabchak, Michael Remis. Remo, what's up? How was the weekend?
Yeah, it was busy. Big family jam at the lake on Saturday. Then we went to the Gold Eyes game on Sunday. It was hot out there, but very exciting ending where the Gold Eyes came out on top. My kids ran the bases as well. It was Sunday family day. So I think they were pretty happy after that. But nice weekend of CFL. Would have liked to see the Bombers win. And, you know, that Saturday game, I got all hyped for it. You know, Chad Kelly, and then he got injured and didn't get to see any fireworks. Although last night's game was pretty exciting too. So it was a solid weekend, Huss.
Yeah, listen, I was on the verge of going 0-4 with my picks this week. So thank you, Montreal. Thank you, Trey Ford, for that terrible interception at the end of the game, which allowed a greasy backdoor cover by Montreal. But I will take it. Connor, what's going on? You were a busy guy this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much in the city to take in. I actually didn't get to a Gold Eyes game. I know they were here for 3 over the weekend, but Thursday night, Sea-Bears game, Friday night Bomber game, Saturday afternoon, Sea-Bears game again. two tough home losses for the Sea Bears, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a fun weekend, and then obviously the Bombers lost too. So I guess I went 1-3. It was a tough weekend actually. I'm sitting here talking about how it was a great weekend. No, it was actually a very tough weekend, but the weather was nice. It was nice being outside, and yeah, I mean the Bombers for sure. That's going to have most of our attention on this show.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, just thank you and shout out to the Gold Eyes for actually winning a couple games, because as you laid out, it was an ugly 72 hours at home for the Sea Bears, who, would seem to play well for 3 quarters and then just turn into, a brickathon in the fourth for both games. So obviously the loss to Vancouver was really costly in the conference on Thursday. But you sort of needed to keep pace. So we'll take a look at that and, hit a little CEB with Moe Khan, who I know follows the league very closely, a little bit later on. But I don't know where we want to start, guys, because to be honest, there's culprits and poor performances on all sides of the ball. This was a domination by Calgary really in all 3 phases of the game. They own the Bombers offensively. Their defense was much better than the Bomber defense was, and their special teams game was a hell of a lot better. And, Remo, I think there still was, like, when I look at this game, obviously the missed field goal punt return, which the Bombers have killed teams on in the past with Trey Vavel, to me was the play in the game, in that it was such a big swing early on when the game was still somewhat in question, that the Bombers just couldn't come back. And then from there, similarly to what we saw in the Ottawa game, it forced Drew Brown to play, somewhat of a reckless game and put some balls in danger. But unlike Ottawa that couldn't catch, Calgary did. And the picks and the turnovers piled up, and what we ended up getting was a 50 burger on the scoreboard for Calgary. But Reem, that was it's pretty hard to find a lot of silver linings when you get beat like a drum pretty much in all 3 phases of the game.
Yeah, it seemed like the Bombers, were going to come back like they did against Ottawa, but Calgary kept pulling away. They had chances, but when you keep turning the ball over with the 4 interceptions, tough to get things done. And what a game it was for Tyreek McAllister. Hussey had a 56-yard receiving touchdown, 188-yard missed field goal touchdown, also had a rushing touchdown, 318 all-purpose yards. He took the game over, and yes, it was all 3 phases. Special teams, you had blocked punt, the field goal return touchdown, offense, turnovers, defense. You're just giving up big plays. Jalen Philpott, 69-yard touchdown. In addition to the McAllister touchdown, the Bombers just making some big mistakes, which holding the back. I didn't feel like they were got so dominated, but when you get 50 put on you, and by the end they were putting up turnover after. The Bombers, I felt like they were in it until they really fell behind.
Yeah, and the missed tackles defensively, you talk about that 70-yard touchdown opening the 3rd quarter, that was very tough to see. The McAllister long touchdown on special teams. I joked on the WST Bombers report this morning that it was Christmas in July, so they were dropping gifts out of the sky at Princess Auto Stadium. Turns out if you unwrap it, it's just a holding penalty on special teams. That's all. That's all that they were dropping from the sky, because the special teams penalties, the Bombers don't do that. That's just not a Mike O'Shea coached team taking penalties on special teams, but they did that a ton. They lost the special teams battle, which is also a big rarity for a Mike O'Shea coached football team. And then having said all that, with all the issues, coverage, tackling, special teams, going long, field goal return touchdown, there the Bombers were with just over 12 minutes left on the Calgary 49, and it's a 9-point game. There's so much time left. Drew Brown throws an interception. The defense then somehow holds Calgary to 3 points after Calgary returned it inside the red zone. And then the very next play, Drew Brown throws another interception. It's just it was the defense, the coverage, the tackling for, it seemed like the first 3 quarters or at least 2.5. And then when the defense stepped up and forced a A strip sack by Newer Gatkuth. Shout out to him with that 2-play sequence was awesome. They, short yardage, they stuff him. They hold him to 3 when Calgary gets red zone field positioning immediately. That's when Drew Brown starts throwing the ball to Calgary, and he just couldn't stop doing it. So the phases did not work well together. I even think that if it wasn't for that boneheaded play where Calgary intercepts the ball and then tries to lateral it back, and Ontario Wilson steals it, and then the Bombers score on that drive. Right? Like, if that doesn't happen, I don't even think this game is that close either. So it's a weird one where the Bombers, all 3 phases just kind of got outplayed.
That play in particular was
puzzling,
hilarious.
Yeah.
Not one that I can remember really seeing before. And credit to Ontario Wilson for having the hustle to get back in there and be there for the play. But Reem, that sort of felt like a team that was just having so much fun having their way with their opponent that they, added a little bit of mustard on some of their plays, and that one blew up in their face. But, when a team has that sort of confidence, they're getting that many opportunities on picks to try to set up a pick 6. It's probably on your end more than what they're doing. But that was wild. A couple good comments in chat. Red Dunlop, never a good night when you give up record-setting plays to the opposition. And listen, I'm with Caden L. I know I sort of grouped the entire defense in together. Caden says the defensive line was pretty much the only phase of the game that was decent. I thought Willie, made an impact in that game. Serezna. But Newer Gatkuth, as you mentioned, the first time we'd really see him be an impact player. They didn't make it easy for Calgary. But again, the minute that ball was getting thrown, who is it says? Mike Cochran, Winnipeg. Lots of business decisions with the tackling on defense. Put it this way, Reem, when Mike O'Shea and the coaching staff get together with the fellas, they might need a little extra time for the video session after that one, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and I think we saw what the game against Ottawa may have looked like if the DBs could catch. Calgary didn't drop any of those ones, and as you said, maybe going for a little extra with the lateral, but he was able to get one later on in the game. And yeah, you look at this one, Huss, you talk about the line play, the O-line with the big injury to Jarrell Broxton and impacted the Bombers, a lot towards the end of the game. Drew Brown, not a lot of time there, leading the interceptions. And we also mentioned, Brady Oliveira was off to a pretty good start, was running the ball well, had that big run, and you thought, okay, time, to get Brady more involved, which is what we were saying during the Ottawa game. And he didn't touch the ball again until the game was over, and they were running out the clock. So, issues on offense, issues here on defense, special teams, you go, block punt, missed field goal, a lot of problems there. So I'm rethinking. I said the game seemed like the Bombers were primed for a big comeback. At least I thought, but maybe I'm just being a bit too optimistic.
Well, Brady, it's interesting. Brady, Connor, if I told you that Brady Oliveira went for 128 and 2 touchdowns, you'd probably think, oh, well, beautiful. That's a Bomber win. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. He did have some big runs, I think ostensibly on plays that were well called by Condell to go to it because they just assumed that it was passing going, and he hit a couple open areas and then was gone. But I mean, Drew Brown's final numbers: 24 of 40, 249, a touchdown. The 4 picks is the number that stands out. And their inability to get Brady Oliveira going early on when they were in the football game and trailing the way they were pretty much for the entire game was a big reason why that touch number for Brady wasn't higher, even though he did do quite a bit of damage when he got it, especially in the second half.
Yeah, and Brady Oliveira's, touch count is always going to be a massive talking point when it comes to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I said this morning on the WSD Bombers report. I feel like every single game I'm coming onto the Bombers report and saying, well, Brady didn't have that many carries because he got game scripted out. And Schnitzy brought up the stat that in 6 of the 7 games so far this season, the Bombers have been trailing at halftime. And when you're losing, when you're down by 2 scores or more, yeah, typically you need to throw the ball to get back into it. And it feels like the Bombers are just in that spot really every single game this season. And you look at, to add to the long laundry list of issues for the Bombers, starting slow has to be up there, where the Bombers started with the ball in this game against Calgary. They immediately go 2-and-out. They punt it to Calgary, and Calgary, I think in 3 plays, goes right down the field and scores a touchdown. And it's 7-0 in 2.5 minutes, and you started with the ball.
That's
and
the
you're
exact
losing.
same thing that happened in the Edmonton game. Remember, we were there? Boom.
Yes.
Like
Touchdown immediately. And you're down.
I think it might have even been a pick on the first play, but whatever. They did nothing in 2 plays on offense. And then the next thing you know, boom, it's down. And, it's 8-0. Oh, how did that happen? People are still grabbing a beer and a hot dog, and they're not even in their seat.
No kidding.
And poor starts has been something that even in the games the Bombers have won this year, I think that we've basically seen. And I don't know what the cause of that is, but that's got to be something that is irking Mike O'Shea right now. I mean, this team has not looked as ready to play as some of their opponents, and at Princess Auto Stadium, where that simply has not been the case for a very long time around here.
Yeah, and when you do that, you're almost neutralizing your best offensive threat, because yes, they still found ways to get Brady Oliveira the ball in this game, and he had a great game. But in past games so far this season, they go down so big so early that you look at the end of the night and Brady Oliveira has 8 carries, and he has a couple catches for sure, but they're not playing that bully ball. They're not running the ball. They don't have an identity. And I know we have the clip and we'll play it a little bit later on and what Brady Oliveira thinks the Bombers' offensive identity is, or the lack thereof. But that's certainly something we'll have to watch going forward. And another big part of this game, Huss, Jarrell Broxton goes down with an injury, right? And he's walking to the locker room and he doesn't end up returning to the game. We don't have any word from Mike O'Shea as to how serious this injury will be, but I see some people commenting in chat about Stanley Bryant, who had a tough game. The offensive line really as a whole had a tough game. You remove Jarrell Broxton from that for any extended period of time, things could get really dicey on the line, whether it's Drew Brown or Zach Collaros. Both of them need time to throw, and removing Broxton from that group would be a big loss. So hopefully the Bombers get some good injury news on that front.
Yeah, listen, Stanley Bryant has been just a pillar of this football team for basically a decade.
Yeah.
Reem, this was the first time I can remember, maybe ever after a game, I had a whole bunch of people tweeting me about Stanley Bryant. And listen, that Calgary defensive line is a terror. I mean, we knew they had the athletes. It hadn't really transferred into big games, but it was going to happen. And they got theirs. And then, with Bryant struggling and then Broxton out, Gabe Wallace had to move over to right tackle. And Gabe Wallace is one of the biggest humans I've ever seen in my life. I think we saw a reason why he is in the interior. He's huge. He takes up a lot of space. But what makes the tackles the players they are is having that agility to kind of take on those edge rushers. And let's just say that, the pressure was something that Drew Brown was certainly dealing with as he served up those picks in the fourth quarter. The picks, the Bombers now -6 in turnover differential. That's got to be concerning for the club. But to me, Connor, the big plays that they gave up. I mean, it was the receiving touchdown. McAllister had no one within about 15 or 20 yards of him. Obviously, the punt return or the missed field goal return was massive. But I think got to be one of the most frustrating things. We talked about how the team had a terrible start, and then to come out in the second half and immediately serve up a 69-yarder to Philpott just told you that these two teams came in with a different level of focus and a different level of readiness, and it carried on after the intermission of the first two quarters.
Certainly, and there's the what I brought up earlier, where you had the defense giving up big plays and missing tackles, and the coverage assignment where the guy's running wide open. McAllister's wide open down the middle of the field. There's no one within 20 yards of him for a walk-in touchdown. That was kind of the first 2.5, 3 quarters of the game. And then you get to the fourth, and then that's when Drew Brown starts throwing a ton of picks and the offense starts turning the ball over. So the phases just weren't in sync in this game. We talked about it going into it, that it was a huge one for the West. And, if there was a team that was more desperate, it was Calgary. They were 2-4. A loss would have put them at 2-5, and the Bombers at 5-2, and would have lost them the tiebreaker. The Bombers can still win the tiebreaker, and the third game against Calgary this season is at home for Winnipeg. So that's a good thing. Well, maybe it's not. The Bombers are undefeated on the road so far this year. But Calgary played with the desperation that we thought they would. And we talked all week about how they're better than their record. They played Montreal twice and they played them close. They played Saskatchewan close. Like, they're a good team. Don't take them lightly. Don't take them as a 2-4 team. And the Bombers surrender 50 for the first time, I think, since 2015. I don't have that stat in front of me, but I thought I read that on Twitter after the game. Surrendering 50 at home, not a good look any which way you slice it, for sure.
No, and Rio, it sets up a pretty big game for Winnipeg and an equally big game for BC. I mean, we mentioned BC has just looked completely impotent offensively since Nathan Rourke went out. And it's crazy. I mean, Chase Bryce has been with that team for 4 years. I mean, you'd think he'd know the offense. You'd think that, they feel pretty confident about throwing him in. He had the 4 picks against Edmonton, and I mean, they just couldn't get anything going against our Argo defense that's been like a turnstile for most of the rest of the league throughout this year. So they got 1 win. They don't have Nathan Rourke. They're coming in, season on the brink, and probably a little bit of heat on our old pal Buck Pierce right now with such high expectations considering where the team is right now. Listen, we're going to get to it's a little more audio from the game. We'll do that as we head into Jeff Hamilton, who's going to join us in about 25 minutes or so. Let me just, before we get back to the Bombers, I want to throw this out to you into the chat. I was thinking about this morning. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? It is kind of wild, as we've talked for the last couple of weeks, that Logan Stanley still doesn't have a contract. I would say the same thing. We haven't really heard much at all about Patrick Laine having a contract. Here's the question, and put this in the chat. And if you're listening on the podcast, feel free to fire us a tweet or an IG message. Which of these 2 players signs first? Which of these 2 players gets more? And which of these 2 players plays more games in the National Hockey League next year? Connor, I will throw that one to you right off the bat because it doesn't seem like there's a robust market for either of the former Jets right now. Hard to imagine that there wouldn't be contracts for them.
Yeah.
And I think probably the situation is a little different. I mean, we know the ceiling of Laine is so high, but people are wondering whether that's still there, what the cost is for it. I heard that his people were talking to the New York Islanders, and the Islanders said that they would just do a PTO, which is wild. Yeah. And I kind of have a feeling that Stanley's got a few kind of meh offers that he may have to take, but
$25 million isn't on the table, you don't think?
I have a feeling that would have been accepted by now if that was there.
I think so too.
But like a 2-year deal at 1.5 or something like that a season. But first of all, who do you think signs a contract first? And if they both sign, who will get more? At least on their deal. Like, there'll be incentives, bonuses on it.
Yeah. I think Stanley signs first. I think Laine, there's a lot of uncertainty there. He hasn't played hockey in a long time, right? Like, he was hurt this past year, and then he came back and was healthy with the Habs, but never played and was just kind of practicing. Stanley, at least teams have the familiarity. We know GMs love all defensemen, right? Like, this is the thing with Logan Stanley. He's definitely 6'7" every time he steps on the ice. I think he will sign first, and I think he'll sign for more as well. I don't think, like, Patrick Laine definitely has the upside, the scoring potential, but there's a lot of uncertainty there, and I don't think GMs like uncertainty. So that's the angle I'm going to take with this is from the GM's perspective. They don't like the uncertainty that comes with a Patrick Laine, even if there's more upside there to be had. So, Remo, I don't know if you agree, but I'm going to go Stanley signs first and for more.
Yeah, I think so. Going by the the report here over the weekend from Steven Rosner, who covers the Islanders, he said, "I believe the Islanders have had conversations with Laine's camp, but I don't think they got far. Look, he missed over 100 games the last couple of years. He didn't suit up at the end with Montreal, so he can still get a bonus contract with a lower base salary and a lot of incentives, but." Sounds like the Islanders were only prepared to offer a PTO, a trial contract. So, as you mentioned, I think Stanley maybe was searching for that long-term deal, and they're only offering, shorter term, and he's still holding out hope. But Laine, I mean, he hasn't really played, and he's not really the fastest guy. Like, where are you going to put him in the lineup? Can he be a fourth-line guy who just stands there and shoots pucks? He's going to bump someone off the power play. It's hard for me to believe that this guy that we saw here as a rookie, is having a hard time getting a job. I just type in Laine and the highlights of him shooting the puck and scoring from distance. Not many people can do that, but skating, part of the game. I'm with you, Connor. I know it's not entertaining for me to agree, but he's a 6'7" defenseman. He did play last year. Scored. Didn't he score more goals than Laine did? So I think that's a team would be more willing to give Stan a contract than Laine.
What a wild, what a bizarro world we're in right there when that statement you just made is true.
The first round of the 2016 draft for the Jets, both players prime age as well, UFAs. July 27th, unsigned. Crazy. If you told me that in 2016, I don't know what I would have said.
Well,
luckily, the Jets traded both of those players for, I would say, pretty good return for both of them based on what they had done at that point. The thing about Laine, like if I am anyone in the circle of Laine, I'm telling them a couple things right now. I'm the agent. You know what, Patrick? How about we do a less running around with your wife in sponsored Instagram posts? And why do we start posting some killer off-season workouts that show how hard you're working trying to get ready to get back to the league?
Like Dylan Larkin.
Like
the off-season workout videos.
You mean you didn't like Patrick Laine's video with his wife where they tried Ben Stiller's soda? You didn't like the taste test that they did?
I mean, listen, I'm here for that content. Don't get me wrong. But there's something missing. Like Patrick Laine needs to convince somebody in the league that he's not done, that he's still got some game left. Like, and I know it's crazy, especially for us in Winnipeg. We've seen, like, this is just, oh my God, this is tough to see. And listen, I love that they're having fun together, and I'm a big social media guy, so I'm here for it all. But my God, dude, this guy is on the verge of being out of the NHL. Like, this, to me, would seem to be the most pivotal and important off-season of his life. And, he's getting dragged around and had his hair cut, and they're pimping some sort of men's hair care product on Instagram, as opposed to, like, get out to a rink and have your wife film you throwing heaters into the top corner over and over and over again. And maybe someone will go, wow, that guy, maybe he can help our power play. Oh, looks like he can skate. Looks like he's working hard right now. Like, I mean, there needs to be some salesmanship on a diminished asset that is Patrick Laine right now. And I'm sorry, the sponsored post with the misses on IG, I don't think is inspiring a lot of confidence that the next chapter of the Laine era is going to be a good one.
To be fair, it was on her profile that he was cameoed in. She didn't tag him as a collaborator.
Oh, okay.
just wanna clarify that.
That really helps.
But yeah. I mean, I saw that and you're wondering, like, does this guy want to play hockey? And it was just like one Instagram video that didn't take long. But as you said, they had the hair one, they had this. He could use a bit of a bump in profile. I agree. Put him on the ice. Let's see him. Let's see the one-timer. Let's see him rip some shots. Maybe more GMs would be interested. I think you're onto something here.
Well, and listen, I mean, instead of the dye job video that we saw and the nice haircut, if they want a good second act, instead of that, do a video where he gets his ass on a flight to Turkey, just gets the damn operation or surgery done, comes back with new hair, new confidence,
ripping one-timers,
a new lease on life in the National Hockey League.
Then I change my answer. Patrick Laine signs first and for more. No,
he puts out a highlight video today of him off ice working out, just someone feeding him one-timers and they're going top corner. I'm changing my answer.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Exactly.
I need to see. You haven't really seen him play. You've seen Stan play. He could certainly be like seventh defenseman on a team. I'm assuming no one signed him because everyone's spots are taken. Like, there's no team that thinks, hey, this guy can really help us here. Although players are still getting signed. I saw Andrei Kuzmenko signed with the Penguins today. So there's some stuff trickling in. We had Pat Kane.
It's a terrible spot to be in for a free agent. Well, unless you're Pat Kane, unless you're dealing with the Chicago Blackhawks. This is not a great time to be a free agent. We're well past the bargain bin stage, and now it's is there a buyer stage, I think, for some of these players. And listen, for Stan, and I feel actually bad for Stan because, he's got a young family. I think having the year that he had last year up until when he went to Buffalo, there was a real possibility that he was going to get, a deal that would set him and his wife and his young daughter up moving forward and have a home. And just recency bias is everything. Now, listen, I'm not ignoring the entire body of the work, which can be good, but can also be really scary. And I think a lot of teams know that. But I mean, can he play a top 6 role in the National Hockey League? Absolutely. Maybe they're overvaluing him a little bit as to what their expectation was, and he hasn't been out there. But I'll tell you what, man, that if training camp's open and he's sort of waiting for someone to get hurt or something, I mean, it's a very difficult situation to prepare for a season, not knowing where you're going. And tell you what, I mean, it's real life stuff, probably a little nerve-wracking for the guy as well. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on that. But I think the smart money is actually on Stan. Which is, again, bizarro world when you think of where these guys came into the league, the fanfare, and what they've done at their highest levels in the league, that we've got these questions about lining. All right, we're going to talk a little more Bombers before Jeff comes on with us. I do want to give a shout-out to our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. It won't be long before we're diving into Jets training camp and 4 preseason games and then dropping the puck on the season and giving you clean lines for the Winnipeg Jets on a daily basis here on WST. Of course, Clean Line are the residential and commercial plumbing experts, along with expert heating and electrical services. They've been Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 services, emergency services across all of Winnipeg. If you are in a jam, throw this number in your phone. Clean Line has got your back 24/7, 365 when you need it. 204-500-2001. And you can find out more or make an appointment with Clean Line online at cleanline.ca. Great weekend for many of you that got out to the lake, camping. Great time. A lot of people beating the heat on boats, dirt bikes, motorcycles, all those things. You need batteries for all those things. And much like Manitoba Batteries powering the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they're powering the great summers of so many Manitobans. All the fun stuff you're using needs batteries, and Manitoba Batteries, your one-stop shop for batteries for literally everything at the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores. So stop wasting time and wasting money at the big monoliths when you can get the best price in town and the best customer service at one of 2 Manitoba Battery locations, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive. You can also give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com, and they can and will deliver anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg. And hey, folks, if you got a move coming up in the summer, fall, into winter, make sure to contact our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, to help you with that next move. Rolly's is family owned and operated, been doing it for over 60 years. Got a wonderful website over at rollys.com, which will tell you all about their services and history. But in the top right corner, you can click on request an estimate. Use the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then simply let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they've been famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's Transfer. Check them out online at rollys.com today. All right, guys, let's hear a little bit from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers before Jeff Hamilton joins us in. And I mean, guys, we talked about Brady Oliveira, a couple big plays, but not the action that, he's normally used to seeing. Big part of that was trailing the way they did throughout the game. But there's Brady on OB after the game, just talking about his level of frustration after that one.
Yeah, frustrated. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I gotta watch the tape and kind of see what happened because I have no idea. I do think that maybe we didn't start fast enough. We didn't capitalize on any opportunities. When we were able to score, our defense was able to get their offense back off the field. I mean, that's a great Calgary team, though. Obviously, their offense is extremely explosive, so we as an offense got to go out there and capitalize. And I just don't think we did enough of that today.
All right, there's a dejected Brady Oliveira after the Bomber loss on Friday. Here's a little bit more from Oliveira on, one of the highlights of the game, a 45-yard scamper to the end zone for number 20.
Yeah, I mean, it felt good. Obviously, really proud of the guys up front. They really, that was all them. They opened it up downfield, and good things usually happen when you have your receivers downfield blocking. I remember vividly Pokey just, playing the play longer than our opponent. And that's exactly what he did. And that will never make the stat sheet, but Pokey, absolutely phenomenal. But guys just blocking. But no, it felt good. I mean, it's what I do when I get going. I have the right guys around me, and I know when I get going, I'm a hard guy to stop. I just, I got to keep this thing going.
I understand the emotion of the situation, so feel free to pass on this question. Are you surprised that 45-yard touchdown run was your last carry of the game?
Yeah, I'll pass.
I thought you might, but I just wanted to ask.
All right, our guy DT, Derek Taylor, asking the question that provided an answer which gave us all we needed to know. But listen, I don't expect anyone to be feeling too good about it after that game. Connor, I will say this, and I'm glad Brady brought this up, and I'm glad Remis got this clip. Pokey Wilson, not only did he have a big game receiving, was just about at 100 yards. In a game that they were getting worked pretty good, there were some big-time hustle plays for Wilson, and Brady mentioned that on the blocking. And, of course, we had that hustle play on that bizarre interception where he ended up getting it back. Your top players, especially at the receiver position, when, guys aren't getting balls sometimes, they can get more. That is a really good sign, and hopefully a few more of the Bombers can sort of follow Pokey Wilson's lead because I thought that the effort was there for the full 60 minutes, and obviously it's not noticed by players like Brady Oliveira on that play.
For sure, and for better or for worse, Ontario Wilson is Drew Brown's guy. Sometimes he got picked off a few times targeting Wilson in the game. That's where the for worse comes from.
Yeah.
But he's peppering Wilson. Wilson's getting 10 plus targets every single game with Drew Brown under center. This past game, he had 11 targets, 7 of which ended up in catches, 95 yards. He had the hustle play that Brady said, wouldn't pop up on the stat sheet, intercepting the lateral, and some great blocking plays as well. And look, this Bombers receiver group, we've talked about how deep they are so far this season, right? Wilson, Dembski, White, Neild. You need someone to kind of separate from that group. And Nick Dembski's had some big games, and Ontario Wilson's had some big games, and even Tim White has had some big games. Tommy Neild has cooled off maybe a little bit after a hot start to the season, but you need someone to be a true number one. And to me, Ontario Wilson is starting to be that for the Bombers offense. Again, maybe with this deep of a wide receiver group, you'd like to see them spread it around a little bit more and not, hyper focus on Ontario Wilson. But he's a great player. He's a great receiver. And when the Bombers announced last year that Wilson was coming back, fans were excited because they really needed the wide receiver help last year. The Bombers did. They were not deep at that position. Now they are deep at that position, and Ontario Wilson continues to be that guy for the Bombers offense. So I agree. I know that stuff resonates with a locker room, and you heard it right there from Brady Oliveira himself. And then when he's doing his job, Ontario Wilson, which is, making guys miss, making catches, scoring touchdowns, he's really good at that too. So you love to see the hustle plays as well.
Doug Brown had an interesting tweet after the game. What do we need more? Better American receivers or a better offensive line? And then followed up with, I'm going to continue to pretend the defense will be okay. And listen, Jordan Younger's defense has been hit hard at times this year. I think it was sort of a perfect storm with the offense turning the football over, some big plays coming in, and just not being ready right off the bat for either half kind of made it look bad. But, I mean, listen, every aspect of the game, needs some big-time improvement from what we saw on Friday night. But here's Doug from CJOB as well, asking about the identity of the offense right now.
Do you feel the identity of this offense is in flux right now, Brady? We're having a hard time putting our handle on what this offensive attack is or what it wants to be.
Dude, that's a great question, man, because I would say I agree with you right now. I don't know who we are right now as an offense or who we want to be. Like, what is it that we do well, or what are we great at? And can we really do more? And then things we have to improve on, let's improve in it. But when it comes to the identity of a team, and especially an offense, well, you got to lean on that. And right now, I really don't know what our identity is right now on offense. Like, I think we're still trying to find that. And obviously it's a long season, but we can't continue to say, it's a long season because what game was this? Game 6 or 7? I don't know. I just know that this thing is moving fast, and we're going to lose out on opportunities, and we need to figure out what the identity of this team is, and especially on offense, I would say quicker rather than later.
Great question from Doug Brown. Very interesting answer from a frustrated Brady Oliveira afterwards, Remo. And, coming in with Tommy Condell joining the team this year, knowing that he's always been a guy that's leaned more on the pass than just about any other offensive coordinator in the CFL, that there would maybe be some growing pains. What stood out to me, Remis, was that play is we need to figure out what we're great at. I know what Brady feels that they're great at, and that is running the football. They just haven't been able to consistently stay on the field, move the chains long enough to get that going, and then mix in the issues they had with the injuries on the offensive line. And it does basically paint the picture of a team that is just sort of needing to find themselves offensively, especially with a backup quarterback in.
Yeah, I found it interesting that he was given the option to pass on the question about not getting the ball, but then had no problem saying that, hey, we don't know what our identity is. We don't know what we're great at. And if you look at the game log, Huss, he had the 45-yard run, and then, Calgary had the ball, was sacked, for the fumble recovery. But on the first play, they kept going, throw to Tavares Daniels. You're missing on first down. So then you're throwing again on second. The next one, first down, interception. The next time they get the ball, first play, interception. I don't know why, he kept trying to throw deep. I guess you're down, but you look at his yards per carry down this year from the past. He's getting less share of targets than the past. He just hasn't been a focal point of this offense when maybe he should be. If you're getting guys not getting protection, you can't find a way for a quick dump off. You see how the Elks are using Justin Rankin. He's getting the ball in all situations there. So I know it's been tough for the Bombers. That was a short week. You do have a backup. He hasn't really had any practice time as well. So definitely a challenge to figure out, but that's kind of what we thought the offense was going to be with Tommy Condell coming in. He's known to be a thrower, and right now you're having Drew Brown just go back under pressure and just huck it up and get picked off. At least that's what happened as they attempted to come back last game.
Hey, shout out to David Dracing in Edmonton. Hey, guys, Winnipeg fan all my life. Unfortunately, live in Edmonton since 1976. Please discuss Tyrone Jones or Willie Jefferson. Who's better? I think Willie will probably go down as having a much better overall career. The guy's been doing it for 10, 11 years. Tyrone Jones, and again, I was young at that time, tough to me. But anyone that remembers those kind of glory 80s years, I'd be interested in your perspective on that. A great one from David. Listen, before we bring in Hammer, let's hear what Drew Brown had to say and a little Mike O'Shea. This is Brown post-game after the loss on Friday night at Princess Auto Stadium.
Yeah, it was tough. Disappointed in, how I took care of the football tonight. So I'll wear that. But I didn't feel like I gave us quite a chance there.
What did they do defensively? Because they seemed like they had control early, but then you guys rallied and then forced some mistakes too.
Yeah, they got good players. They did some things differently, some good scheme, but ultimately we just didn't execute, and that starts with me.
This week, you and the guys kind of emphasized getting off to a good start. What kind of happened from your perspective?
Yeah, we didn't. I think that it merits a conversation again, probably, of hey, what do we need to do to get going quicker? But you saw we had opportunities, and I didn't take care of the football good enough. I didn't play good enough football tonight.
All right, so there's Drew Brown. I had to laugh at that thing. It said, you guys had really planned on having a good start. What happened? Well, we didn't. That was, quick and to the point. Here's what Coach O'Shea had to say about the loss Friday night for the Bombers.
Yeah, not nearly good enough. You can't, you don't want to turn that into a track meet. Now, they didn't have a lot of rest either, but I'm certainly not saying that's, but you certainly don't want to go get into a track meet against a good offense like that. You got to just play much cleaner football and try and just hold that score down until offense drives or until the defense gets stops, right? You just got to really manage the game better. And I thought too many penalties, too many mistakes, and it adds up to this. We put up 52 on us. All three phases accounted for that score, right? It's not on the defense, right?
All right, and here's just one more from Coach O'Shea before we bring in Jeff Hamilton. Here's O'Shea on another slow start for his team.
Yeah, I'd like to find that out. I think that's the same answer I've given for probably a decade when you start slow. We came out 2 and out, not a great punt, missed tackle, bit of a drive, and then a long run basically untouched into the end zone, which is not the start you want. I think we bounced back from that. I thought, we gathered some steam after that, but there were lots of times where we had opportunities that we created and then we just couldn't capitalize on them. So, you get them down, you get them back to 9, and then you're down 12 or 15, right? Whatever it is, it's just, we couldn't seem to get over the hump when we had an opportunity that we created.
All right, there's the coach. We'll get back to Remo and Connor a little later on. Hammer is locked and loaded and ready to go. Just before we bring him in, a big shout out and thanks to our friends at Princess Auto. Man, we had a great time at the new store at 500 Panet Road on Wednesday of last week. Just an unbelievable spot. 105,000 square feet. They got the great eats there. They got the ice cream, and they have literally everything. So if you haven't been there yet, you got to check out the new Princess Auto flagship store from coast to coast right here in Winnipeg at 500 Panet Road. And we'll hope to see you at Princess Auto Stadium on Thursday night as the Bombers look to get to 5-3 against the struggling BC Lions. I know it was a great weekend for many of you. You know how you could even have a better weekend? Maybe pop down and see the Derminator and the gang at Chud's Power Sports for the best in power sports options here in Manitoba to take your summer to the next level. They have the best in new and used motorcycles, dirt bikes, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats and outboard motors, recreational vehicles, Argos, off-road vehicles, and so much more. If you haven't made the trip out to see him, it's definitely worth it. Corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. I've been doing it for 80 years, and that's why they've become the power sports superstore in Manitoba with the best in customer service, the most experienced staff in the game to help you with the right purchase. Great financing options, awesome used vehicles there as well. It's all waiting for you at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli. And before you maybe hit the road to go see the gang, get shopping online. ChudsPowersports.com for all the information on what's going on. Some great promotions right now. And don't forget, if you click on True North Parts, you'll have their sister site with the best in clearance gear and accessories. ChudsPowersports.com. Highway 8 and 231 up in Gimli. Big smiles all around for our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Gang, if you need a spot for you or you and your family at a dental clinic that's been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans, pop by and see our friend Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff at St. Vital Dental Center. They got a great new spot at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building, state-of-the-art equipment, and they will do it all for clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They do it all. Check them out online, stviteldental.ca. You can make an appointment online and make sure to say hi to Dr. Terry for the guys at Winnipeg Sports Talk. And hey, we had some big games on the weekend. If you weren't at the game or you wanted to get out on the weekend, stay cool and watch the CFL or the Blue Jays, where else are you going to do it? Then your local Boston Pizza, ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more. Great new drinks on that summer menu as well. We'll get back at it Thursday. Bombers in BC at home. Full slate of games this week, and no better place to get together with your gang than watch it at your local Boston Pizza. Order online anytime at bostonpizza.com for home delivery. All right, let's bring the hammer in here. Big episode of CFL 110 tomorrow, 10 a.m., where we'll kind of focus on the entire league. Right now, though, we focus in on a big thud for the Bombers on Friday night. Hammer, what's up? How was your weekend?
Good, my friend. I trying to think what I did this weekend. Covered the Bombers game on Friday. Saturday now feels like a bit of a blur. Watched all the CFL games. Went to a wasn't a dinner theater because dinner wasn't involved, but it was one of those like interactive audience things. It's called the Jury Experience. It was at the Winnipeg Art Gallery on Sunday. It's only an hour, which is perfect for me.
Part of the Fringe?
No, it's not part of the Fringe. I don't think it. No, it's not part of the Fringe. We bought these tickets. My partner and I, we bought these tickets months ago. But it's like, it's a case, and it really just pins the audience against each other. Cause it gets you to, I think we answered like a total of 4 questions, but essentially the first one was like, and we'll get into the real stuff soon here, but the first one is you have to decide whether he's guilty or innocent after the original remarks, like the opening remarks. And then you get to decide on questions, and then you decide on whether or not he's guilty. And it was the final verdict. I won't share the story, obviously, but the final verdict was 55-45, guilty. And it was like, you have like these, like every question, you have these roars, and you have people like looking at people beside each other thinking they're the ones that didn't vote for him. So it was pretty interesting. So it was, and then I came home for the game, and it was another interesting game until the end. But yeah, that was my weekend, my friend.
You know, it's funny you bring that up with the jury and the guilty verdicts, because I think if we had WSTers and Bomber fans as the jury, the offense, the defense, the special teams would be guilty on all counts of not being good enough on Friday night, and the final scoreboard certainly reflected that.
Nice transition, Huss. I actually was thinking about how I could turn this idea into a sports-related thing, get some, maybe turn it into, underground fight night or something, and as it would never get there. But back to the Bombers. Yeah, Huss, that was ugly, my friend. That was, and we kind of, I want to say we called it. I don't think either of us were predicting a 50 burger at home for Winnipeg, but we did talk on CFL 110 about, the surging 2-4 Calgary Stampeders. More importantly, that their record really wasn't indicative of how they played this year. Now, the numbers weren't really adding up, right? Like, Calgary still goes into this weekend, as far as defense goes, allowing the most points, allowing the most yards, allowing the most passing yards, passing touchdowns, and all that. So you knew how bad it was going into it. But they were also putting up insane amount of points. And this was, I don't want to say this was like a reality check to Drew Brown, because he already won 2 games in a row. Obviously, that game against Ottawa was, lots left to be desired there, and kind of lucky to get out of that one for sure with a victory. But, just this is what happens when you find a team that's pissed off, that, doesn't care that they're playing on the road, that has desperation levels, right? That's another thing we talked about on CFL 110 was Calgary needing to get back into this race. And you made the point about how important it was for Winnipeg here to separate themselves. Well, that didn't work out. Now we have a 4-3 Winnipeg team and a 3-4 Calgary team. And you're to check anybody's power rankings that was being honest this week, they'd certainly have Calgary ahead of Winnipeg. So yeah, all 3 phases, Huss, let them down, and resulted in, what was a disappointing loss on home soil.
I mean, let's pick these apart individually. Listen, Zach Collaros is out, I get it, but Drew Brown is a accomplished, competent CFL quarterback that seems to, when he is down or in a jam, throw caution to the wind. And it didn't burn them against Ottawa. It certainly did with those picks when they were still technically in the game in the fourth quarter. But I'm sure you just heard the clip of Brady Oliveira asked by Doug Brown about the identity of the offense. I think there's challenges at QB, although I think the passing games looked as good as it has under Zach. There is certainly no there's no continue or no momentum with the running game. There were some big plays. A lot of them happened kind of late when they were sort of back, and they were good calls, but they really haven't established the run. And it gets a lot harder when your offensive line, particularly your top guy on the right side, gets nicked up and Stanley Bryant struggles. I mean, what's your answer to Doug's question on what is the identity of the Blue Bomber offense right now?
I'm going to take it from Brady Oliveira, Huss. Like, you think Jeff Hamilton's opinion of the Bombers' offense has more credibility than the best player on their team and arguably one of the best players in the league? I'm going to go and answer that for you right now and say absolutely not. So if you look at, this, they don't have an identity, right? They don't have an identity because, look at, they're 4-3 right now, and no one really knows exactly how the Bombers should win, particularly on offense. And we talked about this when the Bombers replaced Jason Hogan with Tommy Condell, right? Like, this is a guy who has been in the league for a long time and certainly has obviously experience both with Drew Brown and Zach Collaros. And, there wasn't like there was a ton of, offensive minds that were turned down for the job or even, mentioned being part of the process and the hiring process here. But Tommy Condell really hasn't been a great offensive coordinator for years, right? Like, I mean, you could argue his best performances were with Zach early in his career in Hamilton, and that's why Zach loves him so much. Zach also loves him so much because he's super, super horny about the pass. Like, this guy loves dialing up passes, and we talked about this, whether it was on CFL 110 or going, you know, in our several hits before that on Winnipeg Sports Talk leading into the season, that, like, was this guy going to get Brady Oliveira involved? And so you look at Brady's comments, and the comment that sticks out to me the most, obviously you're going to center in on the lack of identity, right? That's the juicy one, because, you know, we're now 8 weeks into the CFL, and the team that's supposed to be, you know, among the more consistent teams out there, have been one of the more consistent teams out there, don't know what their identity is. But the comment to me that really sticks out is him talking about how they don't know what they're really good at. Like, like, you know, what are we, like, you know, he's asking the question to a group of reporters, what are we really good at an offense? Huss, that's exactly the question they were asking all season last year with Jason Hogan at the helm. What are we really good at? What's our bread and butter? How, like, what is our identity? And they still haven't found it. And there's a couple different reasons for it, in my opinion. One, it starts with the offensive coordinator, right? I don't know Tommy personally. He's got a real excited personality, apparently, but who cares about that if you're not dialing up the right place? So I think it starts with him there. Maybe putting too much pressure on Drew Brown in the run game. But there's other parts of it. It doesn't just fall to the offensive coordinator. Is the O-line as good as it used to be, right? I mean, you have some guys who are up there. Stanley Bryant got absolutely trucked last game, you know, in a way that I don't think we've ever seen him get trucked before. And you have Gerald Broxton, who got injured. You have Patty Neufeld, who's been a mainstay in this group for a long time, but he's getting up there in age. Like, I think that's part of it. But then you see Brady Oliveira rip off his longest career run in 45-yard touchdown, and he got a touchdown earlier in the game for 13 yards. Receivers, right? I mean, to me, like the question that's been simmering around Winnipeg here for all season is, do they have a number one receiver? Is Ontario Wilson a number one receiver? He's the Bombers' number one receiver, but he's not a bona fide number one receiver. And it was great to see Nick Dembski get there, but I think that group needs more, or they need more height. You know, they need more, like, you know, they need more guys who can climb the ladder and get up there and compete for those 50-50 balls. To me, they're doing the best with what they have, but they're not in sync. And I think that's what it comes down to, whether it's the chemistry still needing to be built with Drew Brown. That wasn't going to happen overnight, even with his experience in Winnipeg. You know, so that's part of it here. But here's the thing. Sometimes another team shows up and whoops your ass, and, you know, you kind of got to throw the tape out, or you obviously have to learn your lessons. But you're not going to sit there and dwell on that and say this is the team. The problem with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is they've been inconsistent for a couple of years now. And we still don't really know, you know, they still get the benefit of the doubt from a lot of people, particularly those who watch them here in Winnipeg, like you and I, Huss, because what we've seen for those years. But this is supposed to be a team that's supposed to be roaring in the West Division. And right now, they're not even really in the mix. I mean, of course, they're in the mix for a record-wise, but when you look at how Edmonton Elks are playing, you look at how the Saskatchewan Roughriders are playing, and if the Calgary Stampeders can continue this momentum, they could be in a lot of trouble for their positioning. So, you know, I think Brady's comments, as much as there is truth to them, as I just laid out here, I also think it's frustration. When you ask a guy like that, who's got 2 touchdowns in a game, who just came off an ass kicking, he's probably going to give you a soundbite or two. He's not going to rip into his team. He's not going to name anyone specifically. But if you ask him if he thinks he should get the ball more, he's going to tell you yes 100 times out of 100 times. He's probably going to say it with a little more passion and a little extra information when it's following a disappointing and ass kicking at home.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, a big part of the not getting Brady the ball enough is the way that they're falling behind in games. And, you know, Mike didn't have much of an answer for the slow starts. I mean, this was almost a blueprint of what happened in the Edmonton home game, where they go out, have the football, immediately give it back to Edmonton, and then the other team steps up, ready for what the Bombers are throwing out defensively, and just goes down the football field and scores, and bang, you're down a touchdown 2 minutes into the game. The defensive performance of the team, I've actually got a lot of time for what they did on the defensive line. Like, I thought we saw good things from Gatkoff and Serezna, certainly Willie Jefferson. But I do wonder if Jordan Younger if the rest of the CFL has sort of understood Jordan Younger's game plan and goes out, we know the way the Bombers are going to start, what they like to do, and they're really getting victimized at that. And, to me, listen, individuals will have their plays and they'll pick up, guys will, defensive secondary, make a play here. I thought some of the tackling was outrageously bad in that game as well. But overall, as a defense, it seems to be disjointed at times. Like, they certainly can play at a high level, and it's not like they're down at the bottom of the league. But there are times playing good teams where they just simply don't seem to have the answer for what the other team's doing. And it wasn't like they were going up and down the field controlling it. They just went, found a spot, and boom, scored touchdowns.
Yeah, the defense on this side, you can't hang it on this because it's not a good enough excuse. But Red Hawk Cramdy is a big piece of that defense. He's not a household name, necessarily. People who follow the CFL know who he is. He's been with Winnipeg for quite some time. A Canadian, great personality, just top shelf human being, just one of the best guys in the CFL, I would argue. His loss from a system standpoint is massive, right? We know how important the safety is for that role, for the communication, for all those things, right? He's also a great tackler, which matters, right? And it certainly mattered in that game. And he's also kind of the emotional leader on the team, right? Like, he gets, he's not a guy who's sitting there watching his body, like, he's not losing it, but he gets emotional, right? So people feed off that. And again, I'm not using that as an excuse, because you should be able to get by regardless of who's out. That includes the names you mentioned, like Willie Jefferson, right? Like Jake Sresna. Like, it wouldn't be good, but you need to survive still. So I'm not using that as a crutch for Winnipeg's defense. I think some of the issues on defense are some of the similar issues on offense. Like, you look at Dietrich Nichols this season, and he's either hurt or slow. You know what I mean? Like, this is, like, to me, like, this is one of, he's been exposed on a couple different occasions, and he's been with the team for a very long time, right? You hear about the average, professional football careers are between 3 and 5 years. All these guys are past that time, right? So I'm not saying that, they're all going to the wheels are all going to, slowly fall off here, but some players aren't going to be the players that they once were, and I think we're seeing that in the secondary. I don't think Jonathan Moxley's been all that great as a pickup, a veteran DB guy, right? I don't know if he's been all that great this season either. So to me, JY does have, I think you make a great point there, Huss. I think that with Jordan Younger, the book is kind of out on him now. Like, you've got more tape on his mad, quote unquote, mad scientist style defense. So that probably helps teams out too. I just don't know if you have the right guys. Because to me, whether it's the breakdowns or the missed tackles or whatever it is, like, maybe you just don't have the right guys. Like we've talked about before, on offense in Winnipeg, it's a very difficult to get, like, guys don't get into the starting offense sometimes because they can't learn all the jobs. They're still waiting for them to learn all the jobs. It's not the exact same thing on defense, but you need to do a lot of things, and you're expected to do a lot of things, whether that's dropping in coverage, rushing in, and that isn't an easy way to do things. So to me, it's a combination of, mix of new pieces here that don't know Jordan Younger as well as everybody else, and maybe don't understand his concepts as well. Mix of the talent on there is just not as good as it's been. And kind of all in all, maybe they're being asked to do too much with what they have. And so, to me, the loss of Red, obviously a big one, but they look like a group who can show up in spurts, but they're not that consistent group. And no defense in the CFL, to be clear, is going to be consistent. This is an offense-driven league. The rules are tailored for scoring points, not defending. So giving up 25, 30 points a game, not ideal, but not insane either. So you look at this group, they've made some progress here, but much like the offense, you don't really know what you're going to get week in and week out. And that can be a dangerous thing for a football team trying to, return to the glory years that weren't so far away.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this game on Thursday is huge for BC, who's on the verge of, having their season lost before we even get to Labor Day. But just, we hit offense and defense. The other thing, special teams. I mean, like, Sergio's now 4 for 8, over 50 yards this year. That's not quite a Sergio level performance. And man, they got burned by something that usually it's the Bombers burning other teams with. And that, of course, is the long missed field goal. But I mean, they had a punt blocked as well. It's really hard to look at any aspect of that game and think that it was up to a level that you're going to compete like close with a team like Calgary with where they're at right now. And again, we'll focus more in on the other teams, tomorrow on CFL 110 at 10 in the morning.
Lots to talk about.
But I have to say, I mean, when you think about where the Bombers are at right now, they've got BC, they've got a bye, they've got Ottawa. If they can take care of business on Thursday going into their bye, hopefully get healthier, get Broxton back, maybe Zach Caleros back, and you win that next game, 6-3 going into that Edmonton game, I think they'd be in a really good spot. But this is a crucial game. Like if they were somehow to lose, and we haven't even talked about just how, like the fact that these losses are all coming at home where they usually dominate, Jeff. It's going to be a short week. You're not going to have a lot of turnaround time. We'll see what the depth chart looks like and who's going to be able to go. But this is a team that it's absolutely imperative for them to take advantage of the fact that this is a team without Nathan Rourke. We could be seeing somebody in their first start. I wouldn't be surprised if they went away from Bryce after how many picks he's thrown in the last couple games. Imperative to jump on a downed opponent in BC on Thursday night and get into that bye week, getting that fifth win with the opportunity to potentially go to 6-3 with an Ottawa team that's also been proved very beatable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no free space on the bingo card in the CFL. You need to show up, you need to execute, you need to do what you need to do to win. But this is about as ideal as it gets for Winnipeg. I mean, you're at home. It's a short week, but you have a struggling BC team. To your point, Huss, I think we're going to see Caden Salter start that game after watching Chase Bryce just puke all over the field. Like that was just an ugly, ugly performance and no confidence and panic in the pocket. There was one particular play where he pretty much sacked himself. That's not ideal for a player who's been in the system for 4 seasons now. Like that, you got to be better than that. And we did see better than that from Salter. I think he pulled his numbers up here as I was looking off screen. 9 of 15 for 121 yards. Almost messed up my point spread at the end. They're trying to get in the end zone on the 1 yard line. But outside of that, it was he looked okay. He looked better than Chase Bryce did after 4 seasons of seasoning. So that's an okay sign, but this has to be a must win for Winnipeg. I mean, this is, Ottawa after that bye week, the Bombers have a good record after the bye week. They didn't win this past earlier this season after their bye week, but they do have a good record on that and they will be prepared. Ottawa's not going to be a free spot. Ottawa is playing playoff football right now. They're already in that mindset of playoff football. And so, they're going to come at it. One other thing I wanted to say, Huss, about the last game, and I know it's been a bit of a topic of conversation, amongst fans and shows too, but like some of the coaching decisions were pretty lame in that one too. Notably the decision to punt with five minutes remaining in that game. Like my point is not to relive that thing and give you my disagreement on it. What I think that tells me is Mike O'Shea's not aware that he doesn't have the same team as he used to have. Like you could do that 2 or 3 years ago with the team that you had because they were locked in. Your team is not dialed in. Like they're not locked in. They're not the same team. And to kick the ball back to a team that is moving the ball was ridiculous to me. And so I fear, if you will, that future decisions by this coaching staff will be made with the mindset that it worked a few years ago. And I don't think it's going to work now. So let's see if that changes. Hopefully, for the Bombers' sake, they don't get into situations where they need to make those kind of decisions, especially against the BC team that's absolutely hurting. But you got to have playoff mentality against BC on Thursday because BC, for a lot of people's money, was one of the favorites to win the Grey Cup coming out the West. Obviously, they haven't delivered on that, and with Nathan Rourke out here, you can kind of put them to sleep. You gotta take full advantage of that, like you didn't do this past week against Calgary. You really need to have the BC Lions, because when Nathan Rourke comes back, I'm not saying it's going to magically fix. Obviously, he was there earlier in the season for some of these losses. But they are going to be a better team. And the thing about BC is their defense is kind of figuring it out right now. Like they're kind of getting the job done here. So you need to, it's not going to be the toughest game in the world, but you need to be treating it like you're playing, the number one team in the league, because you need to get that victory to get back in that good feels, but most importantly, get back in the race for the West that could be slipping from your fingers if you don't get the job done this week.
For sure. And listen, I mean, we'll see what we get from the quarterback position at BC, which, could determine everything. But much like we talked about Calgary coming in here on Friday night, this BC team is as desperate as they come, and have to find a way to win. And the Bombers are going to need to be ready. But just to your point about that decision to punt, I guess I'll be with you. I mean, he's showing that same sort of confidence. I mean, I don't know what happened in the first 56 minutes to give him that confidence at that point in the game, but it also just seemed to be a lack of. I mean, it's either this is it, we're not winning this football game and we're going out. I mean, like, you had to get a first down there. You had to score on that play. They were down multiple scores. I mean, it ended up being 52 anyways. So, I mean, like...
Well, it's dumb because they don't have the 20-second clock anymore, right? Another thing, you can drag it out. It ends up being 40 seconds. Like, I know that works if you run anyways, but I don't think he took that into consideration, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, that was, I know some people thought that they were sort of booing the Bombers off the field. That was, to me, a very clear, rounding reaction to a decision that most people thought didn't make sense at the time. Hey, we're going to be talking to our old buddy Moe Khan in Montreal in a minute. Before we go, Hammer, I asked Connor and Remis this earlier today in the program, but I'm interested in your thoughts. Logan Stanley, Patrick Laine, who signs first and who signs for more?
What do you make in Finland?
Okay, that's the question. I guess I'm assuming.
What do you make in Finland? Because I don't remember reading about any news releases that so-and-so made $5 million, playing for the Finnish league or whatever. So my feeling is Patrick Laine is going to end up in Finland. I just think that's probably the best situation for him. So, since you asked me to answer a question, I'm going to say Patrick Laine signs first and Logan Stanley signs for more.
Yeah, but only one is in the National Hockey League.
Correct. In my opinion, in my guesstimation. That's my guesstimation.
Well, I mean, we heard, that was reported that the Islanders were in talks with them and only were there for a PTO. Like, does he take a PTO or does he just say, well, we'll see if Mo's hearing anything out in Montreal. Hammer, great stuff as always. Looking forward to chopping it up with you and taking on the entire league tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central, live on the YouTube channel for another edition of CFL 110. Lots to talk about and some big, big games coming up this weekend on the slate. I'll look forward to talking to you tomorrow, buddy. Thanks again, as always.
Right on. Thanks again, my friend. Yeah, check us out tomorrow. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everybody you know, and we'll hopefully entertain you. Thanks so much for having me on.
Have a good night tonight, dude. All right, there's Jeff Hamilton at Jeff K. Hamilton on X, and yes, tomorrow morning live, 10 a.m. We will fire it up. We're going to head out to Montreal and hook up with Mo in just a moment. Man, was in Royal on the weekend, Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway. God, they're getting ready for the upcoming hockey season right now. New stuff coming in all the day. I don't really like thinking too much about hockey while it's still July, but I know many of you players are doing exactly that. But the Jets gear, there's so many different hats, shirts, hoodies, Q-zips, and of course, new jerseys. If you want to get that 61 Vigo Bjork, he's signed, sealed, and delivered. Royal has it there an incredible selection of Blue Bomber merchandise, the new NFL stuff coming in over the course of the next few weeks for the upcoming season. To mention soccer, softball, tennis, baseball, running. Incredible selection of shoes. And if you want to do it on two wheels, and a massive and amazing bike section with some great e-bikes as well. Pop down and see it for yourself. Royal Sports, Winnipeg's sports superstore for over 50 years. They're waiting for you at 750 Pembina Highway. And of course, you can hit them up on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. As we mentioned off the top of the show, the Sea Bears weren't winning this weekend. The Bombers weren't winning this weekend. Luckily, the Goldeyes got a couple wins for us. They took 2 of 3 on the weekend, and now we get ready for the return of the Fish coming up on a Friday night against the Lincoln Salt Dogs. This is the Manitoba Mosquitoes game. So if you are sticking around for the long weekend, or at least there at the start, make sure to see the Goldeyes' alternate identity, the Manitoba Mosquitoes. That's Friday night's game, 7 p.m., fireworks after the game. And they're home for a week. So right through August long weekend, although day off on Monday, and then we got a doubleheader on Tuesday against Chicago, and roll right through August 6th. Goldeyes.com/tickets. Grab them, get them in your phone beforehand. Don't bother waiting any lines if you're planning on walking up. And we'll see you at the ballpark this weekend. Also, with the long weekend coming up, if you are planning your next adventure, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. Looking for ideas on the go? Follow along on social media, Travel Manitoba, for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. And if you prefer a personal touch, stop by the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. And just as we bring in Moe, don't forget tomorrow, back at the track, Assiniboia Downs, Tuesday and Wednesday this week, 7:30 post time, free admission, free parking. And then coming up this weekend, this Monday, is the Manitoba Derby, the biggest day at the track of the year. We'll hopefully get Darren Dunn on to tell us all about it a little later on this week. But make your plans for Monday of the long weekend and Tuesday, Wednesday this week. We'll have picks tomorrow on Winnipeg Sports Talk for Assiniboia Downs. All right, let's bring in the man, Moe Khan, in Montreal, returning to the show. Mo, what's up, buddy? How's your summer going?
It's going to be August this week, Andrew. So not looking forward to summer being over in like in 4 weeks.
Yeah,
well,
I know.
It's going well enough, though. Well enough, though.
This, I don't know about you, but our spring started so late. Like I think we had about 5 days of spring, basically. It went from winter, and then all of a sudden it was hot. And, you know, I've been enjoying it. I mean, the weather's actually been quite good. I got my pals up in Edmonton who've just been getting it, like rain, 20 millimeters a day.
Yeah.
You see that storm on the weekend that was at the Post Malone concert that canceled at the Commonwealth? That was insane.
That was pretty wild, right? Because they had that storm in Edmonton, I think like 2 weeks prior, right, at Commonwealth before the football game, right? And so they've had some pretty bad weather. And I hope for Post Malone, I'm sure he enjoyed it at Edmonton, but of course for those fans, I'm sure it wasn't as fun. It was wet and wild, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did 2 or 3 songs and then planned to go back on, and then the stadium was all banged up afterwards. It looked like a freaking tornado that rolled through there right now. Luckily, everybody okay. Well, first off, we've been talking CFL.
Yeah.
As I said, the Owls saved me. Maybe Trey Ford saved me last night from going 0-4 against the spread with that greasy backdoor cover last night by the Alouettes. But they just keep on rolling, Mo. Oh, I think we just lost Mo. We'll get him back in just a minute. You know, the Alouettes, certainly the Elks will have their stake at the top of people's power polls, and we'll do ours tomorrow on the program. The fact of the matter is that the Montreal Alouettes, I think, are still the team to beat, although Edmonton beat Montreal this year. But the Alouettes have played very, very well, continue to do it. All right, we got Moe back. Moe, I was just mentioning the start to the season, and I know the Alouettes might not be number one on a lot of power polls because their one loss is to Edmonton, and Edmonton's had this great start. But this Alouettes team seems to be on the verge of taking complete control of the East if they haven't already, and then working towards one win in Calgary in November. Thoughts on just how this team is rolling right now after the late cover last night, which helped out some people that had Montreal -10.
It's over. The East is theirs to lose, pretty much, right? They're going to win it. There isn't a team. I thought Hamilton would be the team with Bo, and with him no longer available for the foreseeable future. Chad Kelly, he's been banged up. He may not play if they come back. I think he's going to play after the bye week, but I think he's too inconsistent. Ottawa is a shell of themselves. So really, Andrew, I just think for Montreal, if they stay healthy and if Davis Alexander remains healthy, they should be in Calgary for the Grey Cup in mid-November. And will they win it? To be determined. But right now, there are some weaknesses, though, right? Their defense played well for the first time, but again, they played a Trey Ford-led team who, with all due respect, I think Trey Ford should be commended for his pro and college career. But the reality is, I think the experiment in Hamilton is over. He couldn't do it yesterday. The defense played so well for them and got a return on special teams for a touchdown that they should have won that football game, and they didn't do it. And I think now for Scott Milanovich, and the long question will be for them as they prep for the next game, is can Trey Ford be efficient enough to win his football games? And that game yesterday, they were efficient, but in the fourth quarter, he just kind of lost his principles and looked like a quarterback, like a deer in the headlights as a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, Ford is just one of the most fascinating players we've seen in the league in so long, and that, Canadian quarterback, I mean, truly one of the best all-around athletes in this league. And it's funny, I was on the verge last night. I had a tweet half written of just how impressed I was with Ford, some of the plays that he was making. And I waited, and within 5 minutes, he turned the ball over, and it went. It's honestly, I think, a lot of just the decision making. And you know what? If you've been the best player at everything that you do through your entire life, it sometimes gives you a false level of security or confidence that when you then get to the highest level, kind of gets exposed. And I'm not sure whether he's trying to do too much or just doesn't see some of the possible pitfalls in what he's doing. But I mean, just a few poor decisions last night ended up in turnovers. And, that's all a team like Montreal needs to beat a team that already was playing with an uphill battle.
You're absolutely right. And he wasn't comfortable in the pocket. I mean, the moment he got the snap, he was rolling left, rolling right, going up in the pocket to his credit, but his throws were off the mark completely. Remember, that touchdown that he threw early or in the second or third quarter of the game on the screen pass, that was it. There wasn't anything as exotic in terms of play calling development from Scott Milanovich to give him a chance to throw an in route, dig route, corner route, whatever it was. It was a lot of hitches, a lot of screen passes, a lot of Roundtree on draw plays and whatnot. And they couldn't beat the Alouettes, and they had them. They had them, Andrew. It wasn't like they were being steamrolled. That defense played so well. Brett Monson called a great game. Even with McManus being ejected in the third quarter of that matchup, they still rolled along here and gave Montreal fits and problems. And again, look at the two games now between the two teams, Andrew. Montreal should have lost that game in Hamilton when both threw the INT that opened up the doors for them to come back in that game. And I think they should have lost last night. But now with what they have, essentially a 3-game lead on Hamilton for first place in the tiebreaker scenario. Toronto now going to start their home schedule. Ottawa is a complete mess. I just think that for Montreal, if they can stay healthy, they should be division champions by Labor Day, I think.
It is so funny. I see Brendan says, people are complaining that next year the regular season, the CFL will be meaningless.
It's true.
Yet here we are in July anointing the Als the winner of the East.
But I did the same thing last year, right? And they lost in the Grey Cup to Sask, right? But really, this, how they built it, and again, because of Montreal, I see it up close and personal, right? But they built it up, right? They have depth. They have guys like Philpott did nothing yesterday. And it was Cole Speaker and Sneed and Tice that did their damage yesterday. But reality is for this team, for the Alouettes, they only go as far with Davis Alexander. If he's healthy and he's clicking and he's playing well, they're unstoppable. But they can be had. I think Sask matches up well with them. I think Calgary does match up well with them, even though they got spanked by them 2 weeks in a row. I think Winnipeg, we'll find out when they'll play them later on this season. But I think for Montreal, they control their destiny. I think right now that East is a complete mess beyond Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the second that Bo got knocked out, we've seen what Hamilton's playing with the quarterback. Ottawa, I mean, they got to get a win. And maybe Toronto rallies, once they finally get some home games and they're done this incredible odyssey that they've been on. But it really does look like it's the Montreal and everybody else.
Yeah.
And as far as that goes, I mean, we're just talking about, winning the East and getting that home game, one win to make it to the Grey Cup. So, but the Alouettes have been very, very impressive so far. I get people putting Edmonton on top of the power poll because they both have the one loss and Edmonton beat Montreal. I'm not sure there'd be a lot of people backing Edmonton on a neutral field right now if those two teams went at it. And we'll see who's left and injuries and everything as we kind of navigate through the CFL.
I'll say this, though. I think there'll be a crossover from the West to the East. I think it's likely.
Oh, I think so for sure.
I think it's likely.
With Calgary's win, I think that's highly likely now.
Yeah,
I mean, it's basically if you assume that Edmonton and Saskatchewan will be there, Winnipeg and Calgary are going to battle for third place, and that fourth place team, unless BC gets into it, in all likelihood will be ahead of two of the East teams, and then we'll have
for sure
the crossover. Hey, are you hearing what's going on in Montreal? Fill us in on the Big O. Is this going to go ahead? I mean, are they going to actually have this as a functional building once again? And will that be the home of the Montreal Alouettes if that all comes to fruition?
So the Quebec government had an assembly meeting to express their interest to say, yes, we will fund the interior renovation of the Big O. And Andrew, it is still stuck in the 75, 76 era. Like if you go to the Big O, you're stuck in the 70s. Like it still is a 70s looking facility. But the idea to this whole carrot is that they want to be able to house the CF Montreal MLS team and potentially the Alouettes. And I think that's going to be the wild card for the Alouettes because, Andrew, with the league now moving towards the new rules, new field dimensions and whatnot, I'm not too sure where Montreal stands with McGill University on who will fund the finances to change the lines and the uprights if they stay at McGill once these new rules go into play after 2026. Now, for Peladon, for the Alouettes, they might look at this as an opportunity to say, hey, we can now be at the Big O. Not saying they'll get 40,000 fans, but you can get more revenue generated by being maybe 28, 29,000, have luxury suites as well, which can be sold for them. And also, I think the biggest question or the biggest thing that people want to have back in the CFL is Montreal hosting a Grey Cup, which they have not done since 2008. And that's because of the Big O and the roof not being stable enough to potentially have snow on the roof and collapsing on people. Thankfully not. But now with all the rentals being done, I think we're going to see a Grey Cup in Montreal in the next 3 to 5 years, if not earlier. And it wouldn't shock me if the Alouettes do move back to the Big O because if they cannot come to an agreement with McGill University on the field alignment and paints and all that stuff, I think Montreal would look at the Big O with CFMTL as well as a new maison for them to move forward here.
You know what? It brings up a great question. And I know you do a ton of work in youth sports.
Yeah.
How is that going to work next year when teams, I mean, like here in Winnipeg, the Bisons play in the same stadium as the Bombers. Calgary to Montreal.
Regina.
Like, I mean, are the youth sports teams just going to use the CFL fields? Is it going to change? I mean, how are they going to figure that out?
From who I spoke to, from coaches across the youth sports level, they believe that they're not going to switch. I don't think they're going to do it, Andrew, because again, it's a lot of money invested. Remember, you have to change the uprights, right? Then you got to do the paint job again, and there's smaller details that come with it. And let's not forget, right now I know in Quebec there's a lot of budget cuts with the educational system. So the universities are taking a real hit with their finances going into athletics. And I believe the same thing is being applied in Ontario as well. So really, do you have the finances to do this? Probably not. So I just think right now, moving forward here, I think from the youth sports perspective, I believe they're going to stand pat unless their hand is really forced. But really, it's 4 teams right now. Calgary, I know the University of Calgary has talked about building their own on-campus stadium, but really it'll come down to Regina, Manitoba, and the Alouettes and McGill and what they do. But I think right now they're all going to stand pat with what they believe is keeping the traditional Canadian-style football field with the uprights being where it's currently at.
I just wonder what the logistics are. Like, so the Bisons are going to have a separate set of field goal posts that they move into the front of the thing, and then change them out for the.
Well, remember the NFL game that got canceled? The Raiders were supposed to play the Packers, I believe, right?
The 80-yard classic. Who will
that's
ever
right.
forget it?
No, it's like ESPN classic, timeless at its finest point, right? Remember, like, people don't realize that when you go up close and personal with a football upright, it's literally a square peg in the end zone. And I've seen it be removed, and it's a square peg, which is dangerous. So you cannot play on that. Like, it can't happen unless you're going to literally remove the end zones like they do at MetLife for the Jets and Giants and put new turf. And that's why the added cost becomes a question mark of who's going to pay for the adjustments. So really, I think it's going to come down to who blinks first and who has the funds to do it. But I just think right now, and again, I'm basing this off of reading the tea leaves and not talking to anyone significant yet, but I believe right now the Alouettes are looking at the Big O as maybe the new home in the next couple of years.
Hey, Mo, before we go, what's the vibe on the Habs off season? And I'm sure you heard me talking to Jeff Hamilton earlier.
I did.
What do you think's next for Laine? Like, is he in the NHL this year? It doesn't sound like there's been a lot of teams beating down his door, which is just, I mean, for those of us here in Winnipeg that saw him score 80 goals as a teenager, you know, the fall from grace has been just stunning. And obviously wasn't really able to contribute much in the last couple of years as a Hab.
I think a PTO, I think Andrew's likely for him, right? I think when we get close to the camp, because look, unfortunately for Laine, when he came here, people had hopes of, hey, maybe if he can be steady, give us 20, 30 goals, we'll be happy, right? And he showed signs of his skill set. But unfortunately, he just ran into injuries and he was not in the doghouse, but he was in the outhouse, essentially, saying, look, you don't fit our profile for this franchise moving forward here. And I think he will find a spot because, you know, Andrew, regardless of sport, when you're an athlete and you have talent, they'll find a home for you, right? And hope to extract that from you. But I think from a Montreal Canadiens perspective, I think they're anxious because, you know, now the Marchenko stuff's coming up that maybe he might be on the radar of a trade next week or two or maybe into August, whatever it is. And the Habs could be in play for him. I think really right now they have not done much yet, Andrew. I know they just traded Sean Farrell to the Ducks today, but really they need a 2C. They need another right-handed defenseman. If they go into this season with this same roster, they probably don't have the same success. And I always told people this point here. The reason why they did so well last year, their top 8 scorers on that roster from the regular season missed a total of 7 games. That's an anomaly, Andrew, for any NHL franchise to miss so little games and have that type of success. So really for the Habs, you know, with Brady Tkachuk now in Florida, you know Tampa's going to be better. Boston should be better. Toronto will be competitive. Ottawa might be still in the balance. Buffalo should be better. It's going to be the SEC of divisions. It's going to be literally the group of death. I think Montreal does qualify for the playoffs, but really right now, if they can't find a 2C, it's going to put a real stress on Suzuki and others to really score points. And they got neutralized by Carolina. Once they hit the third round, they were gassed out by then.
Mo, great chat. I just see breaking news. Farhan tweeting, Caden Salter will get the start for the BC Lions here in Winnipeg on Thursday. And I mean, it just speaks to the desperation that team is in right now, needing to find something else. They weren't getting it from Chase Bryce, and they don't have a lot of time to figure it out with only 1 win on the year.
No, and you have to wonder, before we get out of here, the longer this goes, remember, Buck Pierce did not have a good start last year, rebounded towards the end of the season, right? And he got to the West Final. You have to wonder, right? Like Doman's been a great owner in the league and has been pushing for the BC Lions to do well. If this goes off the rails in terms of the win-loss record and they end up being maybe like 4-14 or 5-13, you got to wonder for Buck Pierce, right? Doman's not afraid to pull the trigger. And I didn't think any CFL coaches were on the hot seat this year. Maybe Dickinson was for Calgary. But I have to think that for the apathy right now towards the BC Lions and what they've not done so far this year, Buck's got to change it. He's been out-coached at times here, you know, with his offensive philosophies. he's got to get this win on Thursday in Winnipeg, and he's got to do it. If he doesn't do it now, I think BC's in real trouble going towards August.
Mo, have a great one, dude. Always great to catch up. Another big week in the CFL coming up, and hockey season is just around the corner. But we'll give that a little bit.
Bucket, Grey Cup, Montreal. Maybe a cup parade for the Habs next June. We'll see.
You're out of here, buddy.
Take it, brother.
Easy. Right on. There's Moe Khan, great friend of the program. You can follow him on Twitter at MoeKhan19. Hey, I want to thank our friends at Aikens Lake for their great support of WST. I'm actually getting out there in September this year. Cannot wait for that. If you are thinking or looking at a fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in just a couple hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality from the Aikens team and the Terren family. Check them out online at aikenslake.com for more information. Booking now well into the 2027 fishing season, and follow them on all the socials at Aikens Lake for more on the Aikens experience. Breezy Bend golf report for today. It didn't take us long to find out Jackson Koiven is the real deal. Third PGA start. He goes 25 under at the 3M Open and wins by 3 over world number 1 Scotty Scheffler. What an incredible start to his PGA Tour career. Remember the name Jackson Koiven, folks. You're going to be hearing a lot of that in the upcoming years. Third start on tour, first championship. We'll see him at Augusta next season. Of course, all of our golf reports are brought to you by Breezy Bend Country Club. Discover the Breezy Bend advantage and find out more on membership for 2027 today at breezybend.ca, or give our pal Corey Johnson a call over at 895-7205 at the clubhouse. All right, I want to talk some Sea Bears with Connor and Reem. We will get to Cool Bet lines. First off, though, let's give a big cheers to Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's get the boys back in here. Connor, I know you hit Sea Bears. Did I see you swinging it? Did you hit the golf course this weekend as well?
Yeah, I went with Liz. Yeah, Liz and a couple of friends of ours, Brady and Nick, we went to Players. So we'll have to get out to Breezy, though.
God, I saw you guys out there, and I'm looking at that group, and I'm going on like, oh my God, if you guys were just mic'd up, the Jets takes that would have thrown. Did you guys talk about anything else other than that the entire round?
Oh, no, we did not. The Jets takes were absolutely flying, though. And a lot of them were shot down. A lot of them were, some good takes. But no, it was fun. And went nice and early. Players is only 9 holes, so got out of there before it was too hot. Awesome way to start the day.
What was your tee time?
8:15 in the morning. The morning after a Friday night Bomber game.
I was just about to say that's impressive.
Not bad,
you've been training, having to get up to do Sunday Live all year.
Yeah,
you can make an 8:15. You can make an 8:15 tee time. Listen, I wanted to quickly get your take on what we're seeing from the local Hoopers, because they had this great season. Everything had been rolling. They're in first place. They're undefeated at home. And then 2 losses in 3 days on a home court where they're up in control of games and just sort of fall apart in the fourth quarter and can't make a shot. What'd you see down at Canada Life Center?
Yeah, so that game on Thursday against the Vancouver Bandits was an awesome game through 3 quarters. It was super physical, top 2 teams in the West. And then by about the 7-minute mark in the fourth, the Seabears just completely fell apart offensively. And, it was a lot of Teddy Allen, of course, as it always is, and Xavier Moon adding in a 3-time CEBL MVP to this lineup you think would help. And certainly he's not hurting the team, but offensively, it just wasn't a great 2-game set for the Seabears. And now they are firmly second in the Western Conference behind the Vancouver Bandits. The Seabears have 2 games left in their season. One is at home on Friday, July 31st against Ottawa. And then they end the season Sunday, August 2nd in Vancouver, taking on the Bandits. So they can win that game and still be first in the West or end the season first in the West. So they kind of hold their own destiny, but you would have liked to win the game at home, which Winnipeg failed to do so. And then, so that game was definitely tough. I mean, top 2 teams in the West, you'd like to see the Seabears win that one, but they don't, is what it is. Then Saturday afternoon happens, Huss. And I've been playing basketball my whole life, grew up playing basketball. And this was, I'm not usually a blame the refs guy either. And I'm not like blaming it. Like the Seabears could have obviously played better and won the game. But one ref called 6 technical fouls in the game. One of the crazier ref shows I think I've ever seen. Like someone says something on the bench as they're walking by, ref stops play, boom, tech. One guy argues with the ref for a few too many seconds, boom, tech. And then the other refs would make a call. And the players would go up and argue it, and they would just explain what they saw, and then the players would walk away. And it's like, maybe that's how you should look to handle the situation. But the other ref was like, no, I'm not dealing with this. Tech. And I think Brampton shot 4 or 5 technical free throws, and they won the game by 2. So, I mean, you could make an argument that changed the game. But certainly, Teddy Allen got in some foul trouble on Saturday as well, but Xavier Moon kind of picked up the slack. He had 28 points, but it's weird. The Seabears were rolling so well, and Xavier Moon has come in. They've added in one of, if not the greatest CEBL player ever in this league, and their offense is kind of stagnated at times. There's the old adage that there's only one ball for everyone to play with on the court at the same time. Maybe they're running into that issue a little bit, but certainly the Seabears were rolling, and hopefully they can get it back on track here with only 2 games left in the season.
Reem, so the Seabears are 1 game down on Vancouver. They have to win on Friday night at home. If they win at Friday night, they get to 14-9. Even if Vancouver wins their next game, they'll be 1 game ahead, and then a win in Vancouver in the final game of the season would give them the season series and would then allow them to be at home for what could be a conference championship playoff game. Because Remis, as we mentioned last week, even with the loss on Thursday, Friday, we knew that the Seabears would have a home playoff game. What is important, especially for a team that up until this week was so good at home, you want to have that game head-to-head for a trip to the championship on home court. And it does seem like the Seabears, despite this hiccup, still control their own destiny if they can win their final 2 games of the season.
Yeah, it was a tough weekend for them, primed on Thursday with a win to clinch that home playoff game. And as you mentioned, not only not winning Thursday, not getting the win Saturday either. So there they are, 13-9, but still they've got a chance here to capture that home playoff spot. And a big Friday for Winnipeg Sports House. Fan appreciation night for the Seabears against Ottawa, and the Goldeyes as well on Friday, hosting alternate identity night as
Manitoba Mosquitoes.
Manitoba Mosquitoes. I got my hat here. I'll have to wear it this week. So between that and the Bombers Thursday, a lot going on. So we will have our eye on the Seabears this week. They don't play the rest of the week. They're here practicing. There's a community event Wednesday. So a lot of excitement here. Remember the last time they had a playoff game? Before a home playoff game? Very exciting. Great crowds there. So I'm hoping it happens.
Yeah, high stakes game though for the Seabears on Friday because Connor, I mean they want and need to make that last game mean something and give themselves the opportunity to return the favor with a win over Vancouver and then book hopefully their first 2 games at home and then a trip to the final. It does look like Scarborough, I believe, is the team to beat. They're 18-4, so they've basically clinched, assuming that they get out of the East, games 2 and 3 will be in Scarborough, and the West winner will be on the road. If somebody other than Scarborough makes it through, though, games 2 and 3 would be here. But it just goes back to the Sea Bears. Again, despite this hiccup this week, have been so good at home. You want to have that. You want to have those games here in Winnipeg, if at all possible. So Friday night, it's Fan Appreciation Night. It's the final regular season home game, and then we'll get into playoffs the following week. Let me ask you guys, are you familiar with Gaelic football?
I am not.
Remis, what about you?
When you say football, do you mean like soccer?
No.
Oh, you mean like Aussie rules football?
Gaelic football. No. Ireland. This sport gave us maybe the greatest call I have heard in sports in a really, really long time. I'm going to set this up. Remo, do you have that clip that I sent you?
It's ready to go.
Okay, so this is a team, and they're from the... Well, first of all, you're wondering, like, what the hell is Gaelic football? And when you watch this clip, you will not probably understand it anymore. I liken it to a combination of sort of rugby, Aussie rules football. I still don't really understand how points or goals are scored. And this is what's so cool about Ireland. Gaelic football and another sport is called hurling, which is insanely violent. Check it out on YouTube sometimes. But it is part of the Irish culture. These games don't really seem to be played anywhere else, but they are supported passionately by the people of Ireland. And this Mayo team that was in the championship yesterday had not won in 75 years. And there was something called the Mayo Curse. And essentially what had happened, the last time the team won in 1951, as the story goes, they were out hooting and hollering and celebrating the championship. And I don't know whether this was on purpose. Again, this is 1951, part of the lore. But they ignored or didn't see or pay attention to some young kids and fans, and it was taken as they sort of blew them off. And the priest there was so mad about it, he cursed the team and said that this team would not win a championship as long as anybody on that team was alive. 75 years ago. The last player has passed, and they had a resounding season. So this is the championship of the Gaelic Football League. And listen, if you're a podcast listener, this is all you really need. If you get the video, awesome. But listen to this. I imagine, what would Paul Edmonds sound like if the Jets won the cup? What would DT sound like? The Bombers have obviously won the Grey Cup recently, but this is what 75 years of losing and sorrow sounds like when you finally get on the other side. Check this out.
Get it out of there! Get it out of there! Get it out of there! Go on, get men loose! They have men loose. It's David McBride! It's David McBride! There's 30 seconds to go! There's 30 seconds to go! Go to the corner! Hold on to it! Right until the rest of the ball! Right until the rest of the ball! We're 45 yards from the county goal! It's Colby! Colby! He's got Tommy Conroy! Tommy Conroy's in for a goal! He's got Colby! Yeah! Tommy Conroy! Oh my God! He sent it over the top! Oh my God! Delirium! Delirium! They have to get a goal! It's over! There's 30 seconds! There's 5 seconds to go! Yes! And it's on the play! Thank you, referee! The final! Yes! The famine is over! The famine is over! The curse be damned! Hit the nuclear button! Mayo have won the All-Ireland! Sam McGuire is coming home!
Oh my God! Wonderful!
The famine is over. Hit the nuclear button. I'll be honest. I've watched this. This came across my timeline like later on yesterday. And then I saw it picking up steam. Maybe I hit it. I was getting a bunch of other things from Ireland. But I don't know if I've ever heard two guys completely lose it on a broadcast like we just heard. And I'll tell you what, if your team has been getting their ass kicked for 75 years and you finally win a championship, I'm here for it. But what do you guys think about that? Enough energy in the broadcast for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other calls. I think of negative reaction, like Paul Allen calling Vikings
Blair Walsh.
Or the Favre interception against the Saints are my favorites of all time. But being that happy, maybe sometimes Phil Esposito loses it calling Lightning games on the radio, but I was actually pretty distracted by trying to figure out what the heck was going on there. They're kicking, they're dribbling the ball, they're running with it, they're throwing it through the uprights. Seemed cool.
If anyone has any information on exactly what we just watched, I would love it. Jeff Hamilton, that's Dustin Nielsen on auto-tune. Dusty gets pretty lit sometimes.
Yeah.
But holy smokes, LOL, call the medics. Look at this. Or there's another one. Derek Schmidt, I feel sorry for whoever had to clean up that broadcast booth. Waiters, that was a preseason game.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But as in Dr. Terry, this will be me if I ever win a marble race.
Nice. Yeah. Love
that
it.
That was over the top, and you know what? You gotta love the local broadcast for getting the passion of the fans. I've never heard anything like that though, and there's no big J's that give these guys a hard time. Let her rip. 75 years of pain, suffering, and disappointment to be done. Connor, you know what is tough to talk about right now? The Blue Jays.
Oh man, don't even get me started. While your timeline was full. Yeah, I know. Like there's like CFL and really, well, I guess there's that sport, whatever the hell we just watched. I guess I could have been tuned into that. But the Blue Jays, like your timeline was filled with Gaelic football clips. Mine is full of people, all sad that Kevin Gausman might get traded here. Like are they going to be sellers? They probably should be, right? Like they're pretty bad so far this year. They got a lot of free agents: George Springer, Kevin Gausman. Are they going to trade some of these? Shane Bieber? Are they going to trade some of these guys? Just a stunning fall from Game 7 of the World Series.
Well, and Remo, the deadline is Friday.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the one thing is we will talk some Jays this week. Unfortunately, it's not really going to be about Dylan Cease, who had another ridiculous performance on the weekend, or Okamoto. It's going to be on, is Gausman out? Is Bieber out? Is Varsho out? And what they may be able to do at the trade deadline. I will say their season last year, I think, bought them enough currency, certainly with management and whatnot. People are not going to be saying to blow it all up. But this is an opportunity in a lost season to maybe really reset this roster. Because the pitching's actually been pretty good. They just do not have enough bats right now to win consistently.
Yeah, they've taken a big step back this year, and it's funny, I was at the Gold Eyes game yesterday, and just whenever they had guys in scoring position and couldn't cash, I just kept thinking about the Blue Jays, how close they were in Game 7. Hard not to think about that, sitting here, thinking, oh, they're going to be back, not a problem, but it doesn't always work that way. And yeah, Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s had a tough season. George Springer had this amazing year last year. Not quite this year. Addison Barger as well. He's out for the season now. Just you had this series with the Red Sox. You lose 2 out of 3 there. They lose 3 out of 4 to the Rays. you could lose 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. This is just since the All-Star break here. And again, you're losing more games than you're winning. They're 14 and a half games out of Tampa in the first, 5.5 out of the wild card. But there's so many teams in front for that wild card. It's just not going to happen. So the trade deadline's Friday. Seems like, as you said, Gossman's on his way out. Shane Bieber, you thought, remember the excitement when they signed Shane Bieber? Oh, he's going to help them, and not even close. So I think this is why when you get there, cherish it, because you don't know. You think it's going to be easy to come back once you have a good season, but again, it doesn't always work that way. They had lightning in a bottle last year, and I agree with you, Wes. I think they have some goodwill after what they did last season to say, okay, this is a reset year, and they still have some good players. Did Vlad just turn into a pumpkin? I don't think so. Maybe he's injured. Maybe he's been dealing with something.
He told the fans just to calm down and to chill out this weekend.
To chill, yeah. Well,
just be patient.
Well, they're out. I mean, how much time do you have
trade
left?
Deadline. They're 10 games under 500, Vlad. I think the time for just chilling out and being patient is long since passed. All right, guys. Before we go, let's get to. We've got some updates in the CFL contest, the weekly pick'em for the trip to the Grey Cup. First off, congratulations to D. Carpy. D. Carpy was this week's winner with 30 points. D. Carpy, if you check your Coolbet account, you have been bonused the $50 weekly prize. Nicely done. Overall leaderboard is as follows. First place, Ted Lai 2, 145. Skins 44 is just 4 points back with 140. Rob Pepper is in third with 135. You can see big hands in this week's winner, D. Carpy, 4 and 5 at 130. Izzy and Bam Bams, I believe Bam Bams is bombing, are also there at 130. And then Schnitzy at 125 is the top of all the WSTers. Actually, nice. The Bonfire post-game doing pretty well with Schnitzy and Bombing both in the top 10. Great Par and Cold Feason 125. Our leaderboard internally, well, obviously Schnitzy's there. Huss, Remis, both at 110. Connor and Jake, both at 100. And not to sewer Pat, but Pat's at 65. He's got a little bit of catching up to do. But
has he been playing every week? That's a tough look if he's been playing.
The rest of the chat was Jake followed that up in a three-way chat. He goes, didn't mean to do you dirty, Patty. Still a lot of football to be played. And he responded, sickening, really. So it's not good. But I believe you should be able to go and make your picks for this week. And again, if you missed the start of it, you can still play for the $50 each and every week. And hey, maybe you can get some miracle plays and have a couple massive weeks by nailing the exact scores and get into the mix for the overall right now. But coolbet.com, click on Coolbet Leagues. I think it's also in the promotions right now. It's actually, when I go, it's on the main page. You gotta love it. We're getting some nice exposure over on Coolbet. WST, the CFL Pick'em, win a 113th Grey Cup experience. Hey, have you guys seen the lines yet for the CFL this week?
I've
not.
I've heard about one of the lines, the Montreal line, which on some other books, they put it up and it got bet up and taken down immediately.
Interesting.
That's the only one. But I don't think Coolbet's had theirs, have they?
Let's see. Do we have the CFL odds out yet? No, they're not. Oh,
okay, I didn't think so. Well, BC just changed their quarterback for Thursday, which I don't know much about this guy, Hess.
Well, I mean,
he came in mop-up duty.
He looked okay. He looked like he could run a little bit. And looked serviceable when he came in. I mean, it was sort of at the end of a game where they were getting just pumped. So, I mean, it was garbage time. Take it for what it's worth. Hey, if you've been waiting for a moment to get in on the Bombers to get a better number on them to win the Grey Cup, if you still are holding out hope, I mean, we saw the Bombers in around 5-6 to 1. Bombers are now plus 1250. That's the longest number on the Bombers all season long. Still lots of football left to be played. So if you've been waiting for the right time to get in on a Bomber Grey Cup future, despite what we saw on Friday, you're certainly going to get a better number right now, plus 1250. We will get to the lines tomorrow. I'd imagine they'll all be ready to go. As far as baseball tonight, Jay's back in action. We got Max Scherzer on the mound. Jays plus 102. Nats are starting a reliever on an opener, if you will. Nats minus 125. We were kicking around a couple of these plays on the lock shop today. Mets have a really good young pitcher pitching at home. That's why it's basically a pick-em between the Mets and the Braves tonight. Max Fried's on. I like that number for the Yankees. I think we'll take the Cubs at minus 125 over the St. Louis Cardinals. I like the pitching matchup in Cincinnati at minus 169. You know, what the heck? We'll go with this kid for the Mets as well. 4-gamer if you want to ride with me tonight. Yankees, Cubs, Reds, Mets. Comes out to plus 823. What's going on tonight, fellas? Going to be getting ready. Going to be diving into a Monday Night Raw, so you're ready and up to date on everything for SummerSlam this weekend in Minneapolis. By the way, anyone in chat going to SummerSlam in Minnie?
Did you get tickets?
I've been looking at tickets nonstop. You can get tickets quite easily right now. I think they either overpriced them early, held a bunch back, whether you want a 2-day package or just one for Saturday or for Sunday. Very affordable on StubHub, and I think more are going to be available soon. So it is neat. But Connor, what's going on? You have outdoor activities planned now that it's not really worth it to sit home and just watch the Blue Jays?
Watch the Jays score 0 runs in a painful 9 innings. No. Every Monday night I play rec ultimate frisbee with my buddies, and then we go out for wings after. So tonight's the night.
Sounds like a good time.
Ultimate.
Yeah.
Where do you
Ultimate
play?
Frisbee. Either at Maple Grove, like IJL, Rugby Park, I think it's the official name, or Assiniboine Park. Either or. But yeah, that's the outdoor activity for the night. It's a hot one.
It's funny you mentioned this because a really close friend of mine that's from Winnipeg that I used to be roommates with and moved to Kelowna like 20 some years ago, really involved in Ultimate. And Winnipeg had an incredible, like when Ultimate really sort of became popular, some of the best players in Canada were from here. And we've always had strong Ultimate programs, although it's really grown. I think there's high school programs now as well.
Yeah.
But we should give a little love to a couple of Winnipeggers, Maeve Hammerling from Winnipeg and Amber Friesen from Headingley, who were representing Canada in I'm not sure if this is the world's under 20 championships. And they just won a silver medal. And then the guys team as well. And a few Winnipeggers here. Shout out to Atticus Cruz from Winnipeg. Cass McLaren from Winnipeg, Charlie Tannehill from Oakbank, Scott Steadwell from Winnipeg, Sylvie Klassen from Winnipeg, Rebecca Hebert from Winnipeg. Oh, this is all part of that's the mixed team. And then there were 2 on the guys' teams, Liam Howes from the Peg and North Reader. So very, very cool to see our Canadian teams doing so well. And so much local talent. Remo, what about you? You got anything on tonight?
I don't know. Folding my laundry, it's been piling up. You could do so much fun stuff on the weekend, like going to the lake, going to the Gold Eyes game, and I don't have time for all these household chores that need to be done. So maybe I'll do that. Throw on whatever baseball game. We had the Hall of Fame induction yesterday. Andrew Jones, Jeff Kent, and Carlos Beltran getting in if you needed to feel older than you already do. And we'll see what happens tonight for me. So I don't have any plans of playing hockey tomorrow, but tonight, wide open. Maybe we'll work on some Winnipeg Sports Talk stuff. Our Instagram really went nuts over the weekend with the Hellebuck Family Feud video.
What's that one at now?
Oh, it got 538,000 views. So shout out.
No
to
way.
No way.
Well, you
I
did
think
a great job on that supercut. I've been sending it to everyone.
That's the most popular video, second most popular video on our Instagram. Hellebuck and Family Feud. And what's the other one? Ehlers, interview after winning the Stanley Cup. Those are them.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
I don't know. Instagram. We also had our video of us, biking to the Bomber game, which is still climbing. People are it's still showing up in the algorithm. My mom was showing it to everyone in my family at the beach.
Go on, leave a comment. Everyone, leave a comment. Maybe, feel free to take a shot at how white my legs are, or shocked that we really rode all the way. Some people, did you guys just do a shot and then really ride?
Yeah,
we rode all the way from the court.
Yeah.
We
That's
started
disappointing to hear that people didn't think that we fully biked.
We
fully
picked
biked.
Remis up.
Come on.
And then biked. I biked home afterwards.
I guess we could have done that. We could have just biked for a short time and then just put them in the back of a truck and drove. We could have done that. I didn't know you could do that.
AI biking or anything like that. We did it the old-fashioned way. By the way, DDP said tickets are really expensive. Dude, they are not anymore. I've just pulled up on StubHub. Get-in price for Saturday night. Again, these are 300 level, but row 8, $29.
What?
Yep.
For SummerSlam?
For SummerSlam, and that's the night Brock Lesnar's in Hell in a Cell against Oba Femi. So yeah, 29, 39. If you want to be in the lower bowl, there's floor seats on the floor towards the back.
$200.
133, 150. You can get in the 100 level for 100. So as I say, there are definitely seats available. That was for Saturday. Let's just see what the Sunday situation is while we're doing this live. Because it's Saturday and Sunday. The Lesnar is on Saturday, I believe, and then Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. What do we have here? Get in price. $57, 60, 68. That's just in the 300 level. Oh my God, $89 in the 100s, in the 200s, $100. So yeah, I mean, if you were thinking that it was going to be $400 a night to get in, that is not the case at all. And we've seen some pretty significant price drops throughout it all. So anyways, if anyone is planning on going to that, fire me a DM. Still thinking about maybe making a last minute trip and seeing the stars of the WWE in SummerSlam. Well, Remo, this is the last big one here for a while because WrestleMania is in Saudi Arabia next year.
We still got Royal Rumble, and is that still a thing, or is it now Greatest Royal Rumble overseas? So some of that stuff, not a huge fan of, and I know they've been pricing their stuff so high and taking a bit of a hit. And see, but I would say I saw a lot of stuff online about StubHub and World Cup, promising people tickets and then not delivering them. So be careful out there if you are going to be getting.
Well, that's all the World Cup. Trust me, there's no shortage of seats for SummerSlam. So if you want to go, I'm just thinking waiters, but no, not that was not both nights for $29. That was a Saturday ticket. And they do have it. If you want to get tickets in the same seats for both days, they've got a package that has you where I guess it's just the 2-day Let's see the 2-day pass, what the get-in is, just on a pair. I've been sort of really focusing on this market. This market hasn't really dropped the same way the other ones have. So I think that if you're planning on doing it, I would highly recommend just to get a ticket for Saturday and a different ticket for Sunday. You can sort of cherry pick where you want to sit. Maybe you want a really good seat for one of them and you just want to get in the door for the other night. But it is all there. StubHub has 1 million tickets. And it should be good. All right, fellas, good stuff today. Connor, we got a big one. CFL 110 tomorrow.
Yes.
Hammer is fired up and ready to go. We could have easily got him going on the others. We focused in on the Bombers today because tomorrow. And I mean, what a week in the league. Like, listen, none of us really enjoyed the Friday game because of what Calgary did to the Bombers, but another 80-point game. And I'll tell you what, I could spend an hour just talking about the Edmonton-Saskatchewan game from Thursday night. It was that good. So,
and they play each other again this week coming up. It's a home and home. They're in Edmonton. On Saturday night. So
big time rematch on that. So we'll get to all of that tomorrow. And Remo, what do we know what we're cooking up tomorrow yet at this point?
Ken is coming on. He's covering the Bomber practice. We're working on a couple.
Beautiful.
Other options for send out some feelers for later in the week, but hopefully we have a fun one like we did last week. Us.
Yes, no doubt about it. Well, Connor, I will talk to you in the morning. CFL 110. We get the boys back together on the show this week, and we'll have to. One thing we do need to do, Remo, and I'll send a message on this. We got to get Darren done to get us ready for the Derby. Coming up on the weekend, the big Monday of August long weekend. Fun show today. Thanks to Hammer and Moe Khan for jumping on, everyone that joined us live in the chat, all of you podcast listeners, and a huge thanks to all of our sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. The Bomber Report with Schnitzy and Connor is up right now. If you have not already watched that, get on over, listen to the fellas with their rundown of the game, and make sure to leave a comment and thumbs up on that one. And if you see the Travel Manitoba post we did on Instagram, leave a comment there, send it, throw it in your story, let people know what's up. Enjoy your Monday night, everybody. Pretty nice outside. Get outside, enjoy it. We'll be back for another big show tomorrow, including a visit from none other than Ken Wiebe. Looking forward to that. For Connor Rabchak, Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you tomorrow. 1 o'clock on WST and 10 a.m. bright and early for CFL 110 here on WST.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.